In the mid-50s to the late 50s, we got into the space race with the Russians, and we were really the only two that had rocketry at that time. And what was really interesting was when we went into Germany after World War II, we took as many German scientists as we could take, and the Russians took as many German scientists as they could take, because they're the ones who had already developed rocketry. And that's where the space programs came from. So it was really German scientists in both countries competing against each other to see who could get the rockets in the air and satellites launched. And the Russians launched the first successful satellite called Sputnik in 1957. And suddenly the United States woke up and realized we weren't the best at something, so this is where the idea of the space race came from. And we started using Explorer rockets in the late 50s and trying to get satellites into space, and they were doing the same thing. And then later, about 1960, we developed manned space flight. And again, the Russians were the first ones to get somebody up in the air and floating around the Earth in a space capsule. So the U.S. was behind for so many years in the development of the space program. And then we set a goal of having a man on the moon before they did, which we accomplished in 1969. So it took a whole decade of trying to put men into space to accomplish that. So here again, it's this competition between the communists and the free world to see who was going to dominate not only just the Earth, but space as well.
So I remember the landing of the lunar landing on the moon because I was going to camp. In fact, my parents were driving me up to the camp, and got there, and then that night we had a black and white TV, and it was very, very grainy, and there were all the little camp counselors and all the girls crowded around this tiny, tiny TV watching it. It was kind of surreal too, especially being out there at this camp. We were up high up in the mountains, and of course all you could see was just the stars and the moon, and just thinking, my goodness, there's somebody up there.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I remember very distinctly when I was a little boy playing out in the yard, my mom made me come in one day and say, "You have to watch this on the TV. This is really important." And so I sat down and watched Mr. Armstrong set foot on the moon for the first time ever. Then I went right back to playing. I didn't think it was that big a deal.